Welcome, guys, to How the Frack We Got Here, a show that takes the news and events of the week and try to make sense out of it all. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan, and on this show, we simply are all about the facts. There are plenty of news stations out there that simply want to do anything short but inform you. Here at How the Frack We Got Here, that's all we believe in. We go up to the lefts, we go up to the rights, we go up to the middle of independence, we go up to all sides because there's more than one side of a story to everything. And you need to know it all in order to actually formulate your own opinion. And that's what we try to do here at How the Frack We Got Here. Thanks for listening, and hold on. It's going to be fun.
All right, guys. Today's date, January 22nd, 2022, and this is How the Frack We Got Here. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan. On How the Frack We Got Here, we do take the events of the week and try to make sense of it all. Before I do get started, guys, let you know that we do try to be a family-friendly podcast. Most of the time. Sometimes words do fly at the same time. There may be things that might be shown that might be too graphic for younger viewers, so viewer discretion is advised. Aside from that, welcome. Well, what do we got going on this weekend besides some very chilly temperatures in the South? Well, people going crazy, and I do mean that in so many ways, especially with this first story that I'm about to show you that I still can't believe this kind of stuff still happens.
Police are searching for a woman that's accused of shouting anti-Semitic comments at 3 children before spitting on one of them. CNN's Bryn Gingras joins us. Bryn, what can you tell us about this terrible incident?
Yeah, Casey, good morning. I want to actually get right to that video because police are wanting to know who this woman is. So take a good look at it. They released a surveillance video of her while this alleged aggravated harassment happened. You can see it right there. And then, of course, afterwards, as she walks away, the NYPD says the woman walked up to a group of children, one of them an 8-year-old, and made anti-Jewish statements. A source actually telling me she made a reference to Hitler and also told the young kids she knew where they lived before spitting on them and walking away. The kids weren't physically hurt, good there, but yet just another instance of a possible hate crime here in New York City, which we know has been on the rise in this pandemic, and we know is also just a huge focus for law enforcement.
So again, guys, that part right there is just crazy. That in this day and age, who knew in 2022 we're still talking about hate crimes, especially with some fact done to young children. This is why I stand and say, I know that one day when I become a parent, and for the simple fact of the matter is that somebody comes after my kids, I'm gonna go to jail. I'm gonna go to jail. I see it coming. I'm that protective of children, whether they are mine or not. If they're under my care, or if they're in my presence, or if they're just, if they're vulnerable, it's like, dude, it's something you just simply do not do. And trust me, the police know who that woman is. I was like, here's the one thing I always say: police need their help in finding out who this person is. Give them a day. Better yet, give Twitter a couple of hours. Somebody's gonna look at that and go, oh, I know who that is. So in all things, internet, do your thing. But look, I just never understood this whole thing of going after certain people of certain ethnical backgrounds, things that ethnicals. Ethnic is the word I'm looking for. Of certain backgrounds. It's like, dude, it's like that is a hate crime. I mean, that is a hate crime, especially spitting on people. Come on now. Spitting on people. In this pandemic, COVID, Decepticon era, you guys want to turn around and you want to spit on children? See, this is how I know in my case, if my child told me that somebody spit on them, I'm going to be looking at my wife and saying, you might as well go and get bail money ready. Go ahead and call the bail bondsman because I'm going to be in jail and I'm going to need to get bailed out pretty soon because no. Again, on top of that, they're going to find out who she is. And she should be charged with a hate crime. Because I can keep on talking about critical race theory. I can keep on talking about education. I keep on talking about making the next generation not only culturally aware, but also aware of our previous histories and things of that nature. Not just U.S. history, but world history. Because we're supposed to learn from it. We're not supposed to repeat it. And at the same time, it's like, a woman going after these people going after children, that's not culture. I can't sit with that. But we will follow that story as it goes along because trust me, the police by now already know who she is. And if you go look it on Twitter, I'm more than sure they probably got an answer for her. But yeah, as a parent, I'm just like, oh, that one, oof. Ooh. I know I'll be going to jail. Anyway, Moving right along, guys, I did want to cover the fallout. The fallout from the Democrats' failed push for voting rights and getting the John Lewis Act passed. Like I said before in mini podcast, we are on the road to the midterms. I've been saying that since last year. We're on the road to the midterms, and the Democrats finally realized, oh crap, we need to start doing stuff before we lose our ability. Because I have sat there and said this, and I'm going to keep saying that. I'm going to keep saying this up until the midterms. Democrats will have a harder time convincing voters to give them to continue with business as usual. Democrats will have a harder time with voters just because Democrats don't have a lot in the win column. They don't. They barely got the infrastructure deal passed. They barely got their first America Rescue Plan, which gave us another $1,400 stimulus check. They barely got that passed. On top of that, they got the COVID-19 relief bill, which was aimed toward reducing violence and increasing stiffer penalties against racial discrimination of Asian Americans. That got passed. Beyond that, nothing else. The Build Back Better plan is still on the back burner. The Voting Rights Act, which actually was a great bill, is now dead in the water. The John Lewis Act, which again to honor the late great. Well, he is a great man, but to honor the late politician and civil rights activist, that is dead in the water. Oh, let's not forget the George Floyd police reform bill, also dead in the water. Again, not a lot on the win column for the Democratic Party. And now you're about 9 months from now, 8 months from now. 8 months from now, you're going to go ahead and try to convince the American people, hey, we are your best shot. Please give us another try. That's going to be very difficult to do. I have been saying this, that it's going to be very difficult for Democrats to convince voters to continue giving them a shot when they can't even get their own party to come through because of 2 senators. Now, will Republicans have an easier time convincing idiots to vote for them? Arguably, but yes, probably. Because whenever it comes to conservatives, and I challenge conservatives on this all the time, aside from the fact that I still can't believe there's still black conservatives and there's still women conservatives, considering that the current Republican Party could give 2 craps less about either one of you. But Republicans, whenever people vote conservative, they seem to have this amnesia, memory wipe of all the previous stuff they did, and it was still even worse under them. But Republicans then have it easy for right now. They can turn around and stand and say, hey, you gave the Democrats all this, you gave the Democrats majority in Congress, look what they got done. We voted against everything. Now, of course, we didn't bring anything to the table. This Congress, but hey, at least when we were together, we got stuff passed. And conservatives will be like, yeah, they did get stuff passed, even though it was not for them. Yes, Democrats will have a harder time convincing voters versus Republicans convincing idiots to vote for them again. And yes, I said idiots. There's just no other way I could put this. If you are literally voting Republican, you are either a corporation or you're a rich person. Because last time I checked, those are the only 2 types of people that benefit under a conservative administration. History will always prove that. But speaking of that, Mitch McConnell said some choice words that, again, I am not surprised about because Moscow Mitch is a good old boy. And like all good old boys, they mean what they say the first time.
CP is now responding to words from Republican Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. His comments after the voting rights bill failed to pass the Senate, a victory for Republicans.
The concern is misplaced because if you look at the statistics, African-American voters are voting in just as high a percentage as Americans.
Tonight, the head of the NAACP issuing a statement saying, until democracy is secured for all Americans, which includes African Americans, Senator McConnell, the fight will continue. Today, the senator called the criticism of what he said an outrageous mischaracterization and that he meant to say African Americans are voting at just as high a percentage as all Americans.
So I find it interesting that, Moscow Mitch, or Bend Over Barrel Mitch, however you want to call him, he sat there and said African Americans are voting just as high as regular Americans. Now, a lot of people sit there and say, well, let's just take it out of context. People of my color are going to be like, no, we know exactly what he was saying. Because Mitch McConnell, above all else, doesn't really see people. And it's like, well, you have to understand, isn't Mitch McConnell married to the current Attorney General of Kentucky? No, he married into the family and got a job because of his connections. If you're talking about AG Daniel Cameron, yeah, he got the job because of his connection to Mitch McConnell. He married into the family. And you know what they always say? It's not what you know, but who you know that gets you the position that you want. But with Mitch McConnell, I'm just like, no, he meant, like most Republicans, they mean what they say the first time. Never get it twisted. They always mean what they say. It's just the fact that the NAACP's come out and sit there and wonder. It's like the NAACP has came out and said, well, we're all thinking. It's like, yeah, he knew he meant that a lot of these politicians out there, some of them Democrat, most of them Republican, will always see minorities as less than Americans. They will always do that. And I said, you can tell just because of the way they talk, the euphemisms that they put in, you can tell where their food in them and when in their mind where the hierarchy is. You can. So I'm not surprised about Mitch McConnell. I mean, I'm still terrified that this man can still, if Republicans win the House or the Senate, if they do win the Senate this year, I am kind of concerned because that irrecoverably makes him a Senate Majority Leader again, even though Kevin McCarthy is, I call him spineless Kevin McCarthy because that man should have really gotten rid of two members of the Republican Party, actually three, but he hasn't done anything, and yet he's gunning to put himself in the Speaker in the House in the Senate Majority Leader position if the Republicans do win the Senate. And again, Kevin McCarthy is just a scarier Mitch McConnell, and the fact that he will do anything that Trump wants him to do, and that's a very scary thought. But we will see. Like I said before, it depends on what the Democrats can do versus Republicans, because Republicans may have not done anything this entire congressional session, but their argument for them to vote does make it slightly easier for them to win over voters than it does Democrats, considering the fact that Democrats waited too late on voting rights. And I do mean utterly too late. Even more so that the most reason why, like I said before, going back to Democrats' party not being united, Kristen Sinema, well, she's facing some backlash very soon, very lately, because you guys got to remember, Kristen Sinema decided to vote no on pushing forward with none of the bills. She voted no on the Voting Rights Act. She voted no on the John Lewis Act. She voted no on the filibuster. She voted no on raising minimum wage. Well, it seems that the Arizona Democratic Party has had enough. They have formally censored Senator Sinema on Saturday morning as a result of her inactions, as the filibuster rule that she did not want to change was the straw that broke the camel's back. They also sat there and said that they are going to be pursuing other candidates in 2024 to basically support her primary challenger. And even though Bernie Sanders had already sat there and said that he would support a challenge to Sinema. So again, guys, what we are seeing at this point is the fallout. These senators acted between Senator Sinema and Senator Manchin. They acted more Republican than Democrat. They're both considered moderate Republicans, which is like Republican light, really. But it is amazing to me at this point that, yes, I've been saying this, and I see states are finally doing this. If you do not like who you voted in office, then vote to have them removed. I even said it before, there's a vote of no confidence in which the Democratic Party for Arizona will do. And what that basically does, a vote of no confidence pretty much recalls whoever it is and puts them up for another election. So you can always do a vote of no confidence, and if that happens, then just like you saw the Governor Gavin Newsom in California, they had a special election together, and yet somehow he still pulled it out. But again, this is the point I'm making: that if you don't like who's in office, remove them. We as the people forget that we have the ability to put in whoever we want to, and if we want to change things at the federal level, it also has to start at the local level, the state level. Who are we actually sending that's going to be representing our actual interest? And in this case, the whole thing of the filibuster, the whole thing of the Voting Rights Act, which would have been great, the John Lewis Act, which would actually been great, the George Floyd Police Reform Act would have been great, and the Build Back Better plan, which again, in its original construction, would be great. I mean, even the watered down one isn't bad. We still lost a lot of stuff on there that really can be added back on, but it makes no sense that all Democrats were wanting this except two. Two people had held up progress, and now we see that one person may be paying the price for this, and not actually have political office next election cycle, next midterm cycle, and it's rightly deserved because Sinema has not publicly offered any alternations to the plan, and neither has Manchin. They just simply said no. And again, both those, in my mind, that's the one time I wish, and I hate to say this, that's the one time I do wish Democrats would have a Republican-packed mentality to this. If you have two senators that will not go along with the party on this one, then those two senators need to go. If those two senators aren't offering alternatives or saying why, or saying this, that, and the other, the reasons why, just simply saying no, then at that point, I wish Democratic Party had a packed mentality. Get rid of them. Work for Republicans. They are weeding out everybody. Republicans are weeding out everybody who's not loyal to Trump, which is another story we'll get to very soon. But they have that mentality. And again, Sinema, she's facing hot water because, again, this might be her one and done term in Congress for literally saying no and not offering solutions. But moving right along, guys, I did want to cover this other story of the 3 Pennsylvania officers that were charged last summer with fatally shooting an 8-year-old girl in the middle of a high crime. And, well, people have some, how can I put this so nicely? People have some indifferences on what the council decided to do.
There was anger among Sharon Hill residents after the Borough Council voted to fire Sharon Hill officers Devin Smith, Sean Dolan, and Brian Devaney. Each had been charged by a grand jury with 12 criminal counts of manslaughter and reckless endangerment in the killing of 8-year-old Fantability and the wounding of 3 others. The grand jury believed the officers, who were responding to a gunfight, acted recklessly when they fired at the wrong target and ended up firing into a crowd of people. Some residents tonight supported the firings.
If they look at us and they just fire into the crowd, there's a problem.
But many seem torn by the tragedy.
And I still think they need to be held accountable for their mistakes.
And believe firing the officers was not right.
I know 2 of these officers very well, and, they're great people. They would do anything for the community. It's unfortunate this little girl died, and, it drives me crazy, and it kills me.
We don't want to get to the point where our officers are afraid to stop crime because they're going to go to jail and be held accountable.
But then there was no public discussion among council members, just to vote on whether to fire the officers.
President Tanya Allen.
Aye.
Vice President Keith Martinez. Aye. Councilor Sandra Hochul. Aye. 6 ayes, 1 no.
Come on.
Yeah. So again, this is actually following the story of basically gunfire had occurred at a football game. Officers were chasing suspects and shot into the wrong vehicle and also into a crowd. So again, you see the indifferences that some people have. It's like one dude said it best: if I don't want a cop to look at me and assume I'm already a suspect, which for most Black people, that's pretty much how we know, it's how we feel. Cops look at us and immediately think aggressive, suspect, defiant, and possibly hostile. We don't allow. I said we are the only groups out there in America. We're the only group out there in America. Once we're looked at, we're already assumed hostile, guilty, and above all else. But it never ceases to amaze me when you see individuals that, well, I know these cops personally, and I know, they would do anything for the community. I'm like, no, but again, I would have to ask where the training's going. Just because, number one, if you're firing at the wrong vehicle, number one, that shows an error in judgment. If you're firing into a crowd, number one, that shows an error in judgment. Officers, again, this goes back to what I said about police training and the fact that you train longer to be a nail technician than you do a law enforcement officer. Been saying that. But it goes right back again to training. And again, that's another thing that also bothers me, that why is it so hard to put accountability and law enforcement in the same sentence? Why is that hard? I mean, if an officer makes the wrong decision, they should be held accountable. Oh, well, we don't want officers to get so scared to the point to where they take an action and they're held and they will be held liable for it. We don't want officers to be held accountable. You want everybody else in life to be held accountable, but for those that have a badge that swore to protect and serve, we can live with this. No, we can't. And yes, they were found guilty of manslaughter, as you heard in the article. And yes, they deserve to be terminated. They deserve to be terminated because again, they made the wrong decisions. Officers, I mean, Chris Rock had the best analogy of this, and I still say it all this time. When they say officers, well, there's just a few bad apples in the bunch. I said, you cannot have bad apples in the bunch. Just like pilots. A pilot cannot have an airline pilot cannot have a bad day. If an airline pilot has a bad day, lives are lost. And we can't chalk that up to, the pilot was just having a bad day. No. At the same sense of law enforcement. Officers cannot have a bad day. Officers cannot have a lapse in judgment because when they do, somebody who doesn't deserve to die, 9 times out of 10 will die. Again, there needs to be accountability. That's why, the whole outrage of that one guy, he's like, man, this is BS. I said they were already charged with manslaughter, but you're mad that you're going to be terminated? Sir, they were found guilty of manslaughter. They've already been stripped as cops. This is just the formality. But you want to be mad about that. But again, it just makes no sense. But it goes back to what I said. It's like America has this problem with accountability in law enforcement, and law enforcement just seems to shirk at it. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong in the comments field. But moving right along, guys, I did want to cover this story because, again, I don't get... And this is the thing I keep on saying, the dangers of a conservative Supreme Court. And I say the dangers of it because you guys remember late last year, the Supreme Court decided to hear a challenge from a Texas law about challenging the Roe versus Wade, which is the law of the land for allowing abortion to be legal. They pretty much superset that law to allow Texas to do their own thing. And while the abortion providers in the state are basically filing challenges to it, they are facing more hurdles to be heard versus the advocates for pro-life. And you can tell so with this next article.
Once again to order the Texas abortion case back to the original trial judge for further proceedings. That's where the groups challenging the law say it shouldn't go. And if it did, that would have greatly accelerated their ability to move against the law. The Supreme Court in December said the law could be challenged, but it vastly trimmed back the kind of relief that opponents of the law could seek. A challenger said the case should have been returned to the federal district court judge in Texas. Instead, it was sent to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, which earlier this week ensured that legal proceedings will drag out even longer by sending a question to the Texas state courts about who the challengers can sue. This was the second rejection by the Supreme Court. Justices Stephen Breyer, Sonia Sotomayor, and Elena Kagan dissented. Writing for all three, Breyer said this: the Court of Appeals ignored our judgment. It kept the case and certified questions about the licensing official defendants to the Texas Supreme Court. As a result, Breyer said, an unconstitutional 6-week abortion ban remains in effect for Texas as it has for over 4 months, end quote. This is all about SB 8. That's the law that allows anybody to sue an abortion provider and seek a minimum of $10,000. Back to you.
Now, along those lines, guys, that's really scary. It's scary just because of the fact of the matter that, again, you saw how quickly a case by pro-life advocates moved forward to the Supreme Court for them to challenge Roe versus Wade with Texas' new abortion law, and how the Supreme Court, heavy conservative, basically favored it. Now those who are abortion providers are facing a longer road because basically the Supreme Court just kicked it right back down to lower courts and sat there and said, oh, no, you guys figure it out. And this is what I keep on saying. That is the absolute danger of a conservative Supreme Court. I don't mind. And people are like, well, would you rather want a liberal or progressive Supreme Court? Honestly, yes. I do. I want a more liberal, a more progressive Supreme Court and not a conservative one, because history has shown us when conservative natures get into a certain situation, they tend to stay right and they need to lean right and stay right. Especially with the simple fact of the matter with this case, where we still have Roe versus Wade. It's supposed to law of the land that makes abortion legal, but yet Texas is still able to operate their abortion plan. They're able to still run their abortion bill, and the bounty hunting of it still is allowed to continue. Again, you would think two things that are unconstitutional but still allowed in Texas, as the abortion providers have to climb a very high and long legal road. And this is why I say that's completely messed up. But we will follow that as it goes along, because you think that's happening in Texas, there are other Republican states out there that are chomping at the bit to offer their own type of abortion laws, because there are still some people out there that still believe that they know better over a woman's body than herself. And that alone is effing scary. But again, moving forward again with education, guys, in the classroom, well, two things happen in the classroom. Number one, you guys remember critical race theory? You know, the one thing that a lot of people thought was being taught in class, but was taught nowhere not, but it was taught, but was not being taught in class. At the same time, it's a law class, so unless you want to be a lawyer, that's the only way you're going to see it. Well, it seems that apparently those that thought critical race theory was a thing and even got laws put in place to make sure it's not even taught in schools have decided that they want to go one step further. They now want to see the lesson plans or the curriculum, or I should say the actual schedule of education. They actually want to be able to see it and be able to give pointers on it. I wish I could make this up.
Leaders are sharpening their focus on schools. Conservative activists are now pushing for schools to publish their curriculums online. Curricula, I should say. They are calling this, quote, curriculum transparency, but free speech advocates warn this could mean more censorship in the classroom. NBC News reporter Tyler Kincaid has been following this story for us. He joins us now. So, Tyler, how did conservative activists sort of shift from, critical race theory to now advocating for this curriculum transparency?
Yeah, so last year we saw in 25 states, state legislatures were considering proposals that were aimed at banning critical race theory from schools, but usually they took the form of banning certain concepts from being taught in schools. And those received a lot of backlash from Democrats, teachers, free speech advocates who said that this amounted to censorship. Increasingly, what we've seen is a lot of them have picked up on an idea that think tanks have pushed for the past couple of years, which is let's just push all of the curriculum online. And we've actually seen some activists such as Chris Rufo. He's a fellow at the Conservative Hatton Institute. He has the ear of a lot of Republican lawmakers. He's talked about this on Twitter. They're all very open about it, that the strategy is to use a non-threatening or a liberal value like transparency. Basically, it's a rhetorical position that he says it's harder to argue against.
So what sort of legislation is being considered here?
So these sort of take a couple different forms, but basically they all boil down to requiring teachers, educators, schools to post all of the teaching materials online for every class. So this isn't just, here are the subjects we're going to cover. It's going to list all the videos, all of the articles, all of the lesson plans that might be brought up in any class. And it would be online for the public to see. So it's not like you have to go and do some sort of special form to get access to it.
And Tyler, what does this mean for parents and for teachers on both sides of the debate here? How are they responding?
Well, a lot of teachers in legislatures around the country have been very bold speaking out against it. Actually, in Missouri, they broke a record for how much public testimony they received on a single bill for the version that's being proposed there. They're calling it a Parents' Bill of Rights. And certainly there are some parents, a lot of parents have gotten involved in conservative leaning or independent groups that are upset about how race and gender are discussed in schools. But a lot of teachers are saying, if aside from like the censorship issues and that this is going to lead to people taking things out of context and starting a controversy, the other issue is teachers are like, I don't have time for this. I don't know how you expect me to spend hours putting this all together in some form to put online, just to mention that I included one 30-second clip of, a cartoon explaining how, the weather or evolution works in order to comply with these new mandates, should any of them pass. And I should know, so far, none of them have passed anywhere in the country.
All right.
So again, guys, this is definitely conservative leaning, and I say this all the time. Just like the vaccines, for folks that still there say, well, I'm not going to get vaccinated, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that. Let me ask, I say the same thing. I'm putting it toward educator. It's like, are you an educator? Do you have a PhD or doctorate in education, childhood development? Have you Have you done behavioral science? Have you ever been an educator? No? Then you have no, then in my mind, why do you expect someone who's went through all this to basically put this up there for the world, for you to see, and for you to sit there and go, it's okay. It's amazing. It honestly is amazing to me, the actual levels that we're actually seeing this in. That for the simple fact of the matter, guys, it didn't always used to be. Parents knew that education needed an overhaul, but not to the point where it's like you're expecting a overburdened educator to turn around and put their entire synopsis, to put their entire syllabus is the word I was looking for, to put out their entire syllabus out there for you to sit there and go, okay, I don't mind teaching that to my child. And I never understood that. I've never understood how people think that, well, we just want to know what they're teaching our children. You could ask your kid. You can ask your child. You can take a look at the books that you can take a look at the books they're being given. You can be more invested in your school's activities, your kids' school's activities, and see what's going on and get to know the teachers. But to sit there and demand it like it's college, I said here's the thing. The only people that ever see a syllabus of everything that's going to be covered throughout a single semester are college kids, because their professors give them the entire syllabus at the beginning of class on the first day and say, hey guys, this is what we're going over for the semester. That is the only place that only happened, because let's be honest, you're paying for education. If you are paying for your education there for a certain class, you should know everything that's going to happen within that semester, that class that you paid for. You should. But in terms of public education, we just need to, I said, whatever happened to trusting the teachers? Whatever happened to trusting public education? Now, I understand that the argument can be like, well, public education has went down the hill, that, schools are overcrowded. Teachers are having to deal with pandemic situations, things of that nature. I know the argument, but at the same time, this just adds already another brick on an extremely strained foundation. And these parents, thankfully, none of these bills have passed, because they are ridiculous in nature. They really, truly are. For the simple fact of the matter is, of curriculum transparency. It's almost like saying, we just really want to make sure that you're not teaching things that'll make kids remind us that, yes, that we and our grandparents back then were completely terrible people. There was one meme I saw on Facebook where it said the adults now who are older, who still rocks at Ruby D, that was going to the first African American girl to go integrate into a school, that the parents, that the adults who threw rocks at Ruby D don't want their grandkids to find out that they threw rocks at Ruby D. Because it's almost like, you guys have heard me say this all the time, it's almost like we don't want to admit that, yes, America had a lot of dark spots. Some bright spots, but America has a lot of dark spots in its history. And it's almost like we don't want to admit this, like we have a squeaky clean America. We don't. We have to acknowledge the good with the bad. And some people just rather have their heads in the sand. But speaking of people who have their heads in the sand, Donald Trump, which is a name I never thought we'd be saying again outside of legal battles and possible jail time. But Donald Trump is making the rounds again, because just like the midterms, he is trying to set up for his supposed run in 2024. Like I said before, if he still managed to evade all these lawsuits for 2 more years and somehow runs for president, I will be amazed at the American legal system. But anyway, he's in Arizona. He's basically helping to set up the gauntlet of getting the people that are going to be loyal to him in the office, and also has a bone to pick with a former Trump person, Governor Ron DeSantis. You gotta love it when Republicans eat their own.
This weekend, Donald Trump's political party making it clear he demands belief in an alternate history and commands loyalty for the future.
And in 2024, we are going to take back the White House.
Trump's rally in Arizona, a spectacle of loyalists.
Folks, this is our 1776 moment. We will get our country back.
Focused almost solely on Trump's indignation over 2020.
Who won the election? You're right, Trump won!
And his false claims of mass fraud.
We know they rigged The machines?
These claims have no merit, but the embrace of the conspiracy theory is the centerpiece of who Trump welcomes into his political party.
What do we want? Indictments. When do we want them?
But this is 2022, and Trump is fighting for his power back, now in the state that has been a barometer for that power. In July 2015, he held his first mega rally with thousands here. But in the last 3 years, Joe Biden, Mark Kelly, and Kyrsten Sinema all won the state. And it's why he's back now.
Welcome to Arizona, Mr. President.
He is trying to lift up a supporting cast running in 2022, individuals who could help him in 2024, including Carrie Lake, a one-time well-known news anchor here. She's now Trump's pick for governor.
Anybody who was involved in that corrupt, shady, shoddy election of 2020, lock them up.
Trump isn't just playing kingmaker. Tonight, he's taking on a potential rival within his own party, Republican governor and rising star Ron DeSantis.
Thank you, Ron. And everybody needs to support Ron DeSantis.
Trump had endorsed DeSantis in his winning bid for governor, but now Axios and the New York Times are reporting that the former president is privately frustrated with DeSantis. As Trump flirts with another presidential run in 2024, he is reportedly upset that DeSantis refuses to rule out a run against him, feeling the Florida governor is not showing enough gratitude towards him. Trump also reportedly saying DeSantis does not have a realistic chance at beating him. The former president also took this not-so-subtle shot at DeSantis after he refused to say whether he had gotten a COVID booster shot.
I've taken it. I've had the booster. Many politicians, I watched a couple of politicians be interviewed, and one of the questions was, did you get the booster? Because they had the vaccine. And they're answering it like, in other words, the answer is yes, but they don't want to say it. Because they're gutless. You got to say it.
DeSantis has recently taken shots of his own at Trump. In a recent podcast, he said he wished he had spoken out against the former president when he encouraged people to lock down in the first days of the pandemic.
Knowing now what I know then, if that was a threat earlier, I would have been much louder.
All right, Vaughn Hillier joins us now from Phoenix. Really interesting developments on the Republican side, Vaughn. So I have to ask, these two men were close political allies. As we saw there, President Trump endorsed Ron DeSantis. They're both also very popular with Republican voters. So what's happening right now?
If the former president decides to run and the governor decides to challenge him, you got to take into account you have two technically Floridians that are going to be running against each other. Of course, Donald Trump now living in Mar-a-Lago there full time here. But what is so interesting about this is that unlike so many other Republicans who have said that they would step aside if the former president were to announce that he wants to run for 2024, DeSantis has not done that. Of course, there are other potential Republicans who could try to challenge Trump too. Mike Pence, one of them. Ted Cruz, another here. But at the same time, as you just saw from those images here in Arizona over the weekend, the former president, Donald Trump, very much remains the centerpiece of this party.
And he's not kidding. I mean, it's amazing to me that you still see the rallies. You still see people show up. You still see Trump turn around and literally and figuratively still draw crowds, still peddling the same lies, still peddling that he won the election, even though overwhelming evidence says that he doesn't. You still see people who are going to be touting his lies that he's pushing to be in certain certain positions within the Republican Party that are running in the midterms. And on top of that, he is frustrated with people in the past, especially with Governor DeSantis, who will probably be a presidential nominee, who will be a potential presidential candidate aside from Trump. And no one and the king never likes it when an usurper is coming for the throne. Again, this is extreme conservatism, loud and clear. Even more so, guys. And again, it's another story I want to point out because look, I get it. We all, above all else, may not like who we elect, but again, there is no need to turn around and put an ad on Craigslist when you want somebody to go, because that is the quickest way for you to get the ire of the FBI. And I can't make this up.
On the day Georgia was holding a hotly contested special election last year to fill 2 vacant seats in the U.S. Senate, the FBI says a message popped up on the internet ad service Craigslist, offering $10,000 to kill election officials in the state. According to court documents, it said, "It's our duty as American patriots to put an end to the lives of these traitors." It used the word exterminate and advocated a specific act of violence that it said, quote, "can send a very clear message." Federal prosecutors today charged a man from suburban Austin, Texas, Chad Christopher Stark, with the federal crime of sending an interstate threat. The Attorney General told the U.S. Conference of Mayors today that cases like these are a priority.
There is no First Amendment right to unlawfully threaten to harm or kill someone.
Janice Winfrey, Detroit's top election official, says she started getting threats soon after declaring that the 2020 vote for president went legally. She says a man confronted her on the street and said he'd blow up her house. The police informed her that a white supremacist threatened her life.
I told my husband, let's leave. Let's just leave town. So we did that.
She also decided to take firearms training for self-defense.
I felt very vulnerable. So I took the classes, and so now I carry a weapon.
Justice Department officials say a task force set up last year to look at cases like these has received more than 850 reports of threats to election workers nationwide.
And that alone should tell you something. That, look, I don't care how you feel about it. I mean, there's going to be many a times that I myself am not going to like something, and that's fine. I can live with that. But the whole idea of it all, I'm not ready for you yet. But my whole thing is, it's just why do we need to go to this extreme? It's like you're threatening election workers who are just doing their job. Oh, well, we should, and especially put it on Craigslist. Oh, really? To put a hit out on Craigslist? Are you kidding? That's what I said. That makes no. I mean, that might just put up a red flag and say, "Here I am, FBI, come arrest me," which they should. I don't care how you feel about it on the spectrum. It's just simply not the right thing to do. Is to literally and figuratively make threats against the electoral process. If you don't like it, as I've been saying before, put in the people that you want. Change things at the city level. Then you can go state. Then you can go federal. That's usually how it works. But to sit there and threaten, I mean, this whole thing, I hate to say it, those thoughts and notions have always been there. Unfortunately, Trump's actions have emboldened them, because it seems to this day we have gotten to this day and age that just some people just assume they can say and do whatever they want with zero consequence. Should not be surprised, though. Even more so, going back to I never thought we'd say this, we're still arguing masks in school, where again, later on this clip I'm about to play, it just makes no sense that a person still wants to say something of this caliber and think that no consequences will follow.
This photo of a teacher taping a mask to a student's face, the latest incident in the heated debate over mask mandates. We don't know what happened in the minutes before or after that image was taken. The photo circulated on social media in the Philadelphia suburb. The school board now responding.
First and foremost, I would like to extend an apology on behalf of the district and the board of school directors to the student who was involved and to his family.
The mother of the student issuing a statement addressing the growing controversy. It was read by the district's attorney at the local school board meeting.
This situation has taken on a life of its own. How this has evolved is exactly what I wanted to avoid.
The heated debate isn't just happening in Pennsylvania. During a public comment period at a Virginia school board meeting last night, comments from one parent put school administrators in police on high alert.
My children will not come to school on Monday with a mask on. All right? That's not happening. And I will bring every single gun loaded and ready to, I will call every, that's 3 minutes.
The police say the mother has since apologized and that the incident remains under investigation. The school district responding to the incident with a statement, violence and threats are never acceptable or appropriate. Earlier this week, Governor Youngkin signed an executive order saying that parents are allowed to choose whether their kids wear masks in school.
As we battle COVID, it's parents that should decide the health measures taken for their children.
But already, some counties bucking the governor. Loudoun County's school board voting to keep its mask mandate in place per CDC guidelines.
My kids to be able to continue to go to school. They've been masked all year, and they've been able to stay in school, knock on wood. Both of them have been happy to be back, been able to learn,
In Missouri, just hours ago, the state attorney general, Eric Schmidt, filing dozens of lawsuits against school districts across the state to stop mask mandates, tweeting, "The cavalry is coming, #no mask mandates."
Vaughn joins us now in studio. And Vaughn, it's not just Missouri that's filing lawsuits, correct?
Right. The Missouri Attorney General filing lawsuits today against 35 school districts. But just this afternoon, Arizona Governor Doug Ducey announced that he and the state of Arizona are filing lawsuits against the Treasury Department, which threatened to take away funds, COVID-19 relief funds that were sent to Arizona. But the governor in these last months has refused to send that money to schools that require masks or that shut down because of outbreaks. Again, these are the types of lawsuits we're seeing from.
So again, just to give you guys an idea here, number one, you don't ever threaten. Look, masks for some odd reason set people off. I don't know why. You know why? I walked around with a mask. I still do. I worked out in a mask. No problem. But people kill me when they go, well, our kids can't wear a mask. Your kids can wear a mask because Halloween is still a thing. If your kid can walk around like a Power Ranger or a Ninja Turtle or whatever they choose to be on Halloween, and they can do it for at least 3 hours running full speed with 3 pounds of candy in a Halloween bucket, surely a mask will not bother them. On top of that, you just simply do not threaten, especially when you tell a school system, well, my kids will be coming to school without a mask. If anybody's got a problem with it, I will bring every loaded gun that I have. We just had a school shooting less than 3 weeks ago. And you're now telling a school board you have no problem bringing guns to school to enforce the fact that your kids don't wear masks. Look, here's the thing that a lot of parents need to understand. You are right to a certain extent that you can, above all else, make sure, whether or not your child wants to wear a mask, you have the ability to do so. However, corporations, companies, and everybody else that allows general people to be in their vicinities, they can have rules too. I mean, me and my girlfriend went to a Bryant Midnight concert here in Nashville. Guess what? Mask mandates. No problem. We were able to enjoy the concert just fine along with everybody else in attendance. Everybody had masks on. Nobody had any issues. So again, it's this whole thing of, my kids can come to school without masks. I have to give it to the school systems out there that are doing the right thing. Masks are required. Again, when you have the same people who say they're not wearing masks, and I assume the same people who are not wearing masks, the same people who are not vaccinated. Just because you haven't caught COVID yet doesn't mean that you are not immune. I mean, drop the herd immunity mess. But if a company decides that above all else that they that's not just a company, but any function, if they decide that masks are required, either you're going to mask up or you don't show up. And again, this is get vaccinated. Everybody's like, well, what's the alternatives? Get vaccinated. I have never seen such opposition to masks. I have never seen such opposition to vaccinations. I have never seen it to this grand of scale that we have to sit there and wonder, why are we still having outbreaks? Because folks don't want to get vaccinated. They still want to send their kids. And I'm sorry. I as a parent, you try to make the best decision for your kids. No problem. But at the same time, if you're sending your unvaccinated children with no mask around my vaccinated children with masks, yes, your children are a danger to mine. And at the same time, it's like, you don't want your kids to wear masks? Fine, homeschool them. And if some parents rather homeschool, that's fine, if that's what you choose to do for your kids. But my thing is, you, above all else, if a school district decides that everybody should wear a mask, everybody's got to wear a mask. I don't see what the difficulty. I am trying to literally and figuratively understand the difficulty behind understanding that. But again, this just goes to show you that as long as we have that type of thinking out there, we will still have outbreaks. The last story I got, guys, is similar to what's happening across this. This is happening in Reno, Nevada, but honestly, it's happening everywhere right now about home ownership. Trying to get that American dream just seems to be a little bit more difficult by the day.
A look at how a city that's booming with growth
and quickly become one of the least affordable cities in America. We are not talking about New York or San Francisco, but Reno, Nevada.
We're just not building enough housing right now, and it's causing housing prices to go through the roof.
Valeria Garcia is a college graduate and working professional. For the past year, she and her husband have been trying to buy a home. The few that were available, the Garcias were outbid each time.
I think it's just getting harder to live that American dream.
Catherine McKeel says she was homeless for 5 months, struggling to find affordable housing.
It's not affordable. It's for a senior citizen, it's impossible to find housing. I remember when I first got my first apartment, it was a 2-bedroom. I paid $500 a month. And now a studio apartment is running anywhere from $1,000 to $1,200 a month.
And the broader data confirms her numbers. In the last 10 years, rent has almost doubled here, and to own is even harder. Washoe County has seen the median home price spike from $150,000 in 2011 to more than $500,000 now.
It's pretty desperate. The situation's desperate.
The lack of housing is part of a national trend. From 2017 to 2019, the country generally had between 800,000 and 1 million single-family homes for sale at any point. This month, we're down to about 280,000 homes on the market. As a result, prices and rents have skyrocketed.
We're starting to build an environment where we've got people working that live in their cars, that live in their trailers.
Reno has a low 2.9% unemployment rate. With major employers like Tesla and Microsoft moving in, businesses can't find workers fast enough.
How long is it taking to build these homes compared to what it used to take?
We used to be able to do them in about 3 to 4 months. Now it's taking closer to 7 to 8 months.
Twice as long.
Twice as long.
For Valeria Garcia, the search continues.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't going to be easy. I didn't think it'd be this hard when you've done every single step.
All right, Guad joins us now from Reno, Nevada. And Guad, I kind of agree with Valeria there. It should be part of the American dream, right? To be able to work hard and then to buy your home so you don't have to pay rent if you don't want to. This is really impacting everyone. We're seeing these sky-high real estate prices. Here on Top Story, we've been working on this. Some people think the market may cool, but what are some quick solutions in case that the prices don't come down?
Right, Tom. So the main need is with affordable housing, the people that can't even afford a place to rent. So we talked to some developers, especially those that build the affordable housing. Now, they say it's tough because they have to deal with the supply chain issues, and also they're having a hard time finding the labor to work at these job sites. But they do say that federal funding could help bringing in more money to subsidize this affordable housing. Also, they're saying that local authorities could speed up the process to get the permits, and the policies bring up more policies that would make it easier for some of these companies to come into town and build more of this affordable housing, and also the single family homes. Also, let me tell you that Catherine was one of the lucky ones, and she was able to find a home at a senior citizen building affordable housing for people like her. So she got lucky, but there's many more out there that are still looking for the right place.
So again, this is one of those things I keep saying, guys, that even though that's Reno, Nevada, I mean, I live in Tennessee. Nashville specifically apparently is an it city because thousands of people are moving here on a daily basis. And what I have been seeing, and I hate to say it, is that you have developers from other states like New York, like Texas, like upper states as well, upper states along with New York as well, will basically be looking at properties here in Nashville and basically buying up land that's been owned for generations, tearing it down and building apartments. We see it all the way. I mean, if you go down to downtown Nashville right now, there are apartments and lofts that are New York rent. I'm talking anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 a month easy for a 1-bedroom. And again, for a lot of folks, it does benefit them just because, well, number one, a lot of them seem to have available income and things of that nature. But trying to get a home these days, I have been saying the average median income, and I still research this. The average median income in Tennessee right now is barely above $46,000. Barely. $46,000 a year is the median income in Tennessee. For those that are making above 70,000 is less than 11%. Less than 11% of Tennessee is making above $70,000 a year. The rest of us are under that. And I said home ownership right now because banks are lending because banks are being more stingy. Who knew? At the same time, homes are becoming harder to find because most of these properties, if a house has land, especially a lot of land, chances are it's a target for these developers to throw big money at for these homeowners who've owned these places for years to go ahead and sell, and then they just turn around, tear the whole place down, build up apartment complexes, charge New York rent. That is the majority of Nashville right now for its city. So, of course, if you're wanting to find a home, it is going to be beyond difficult at this point. Not impossible. I will say this. It's not impossible, depending on where you want to go. It might be some areas that you may not want to go, but it's definitely going to have a harder, difficult time when you add all this up. Because, again, there's nothing in there that actually secures us. The American dream to own a home gets harder and harder every year. And at the same time, these same companies that come in and purchase these lands and develop these things make an exorbitant profit every year. So somewhere along the lines, capitalism has to be addressed, or at least at this point, I always said it best. If your family has land, if your family has property, keep it in the family. Don't ever sell it. I mean, land will always appreciate, but at the same time, it just goes to show you that there is a housing problem that's always been apparent, it's always been in our country, but now as more and more cities become more and more prevalent, those problems and its cracks begin to show that much more. So again, it's like I said, everybody wants to own a home, myself included, but it just seems to get harder and harder unless you win the lottery, which again, I mean, don't get me wrong, I play lottery all the time, but let's just be honest, guys, it gets harder and harder to do. So with that being said, guys, we're going to move on to our feel-good segment because usually how the Frack we got here, we usually cover a lot of things that are doom and gloom. Sometimes we can lose our faith in humanity, but hey, it's the weekend. I know for some of us, it's probably freaking cold outside, but it's okay. It's better than summer, in my opinion. But I do want to leave you a couple of good feel-good news stories before we get out here, something to make you feel great, something to put some positivity back in your life. And this one I do like because a certain football coach in Pittsburgh, because up north they're getting hit with more snow than we are, decided to direct his players to do some things for the community as far as doing something simple as shoveling snow out of a driveway.
Players typically meet in the workout room at 9 a.m. when school is closed, but their coach tells me on days like this, they take their workout to the neighborhood.
This is thick.
For Braden Del Duca,
It's just nice getting out here, helping out the community.
Colton Pfeiffer, and all of their teammates, this is today's practice. Their head football coach tweeted it, telling the players that their weightlifting workout has been canceled. Instead, they were to find an elderly or disabled neighbor and shovel their driveway. He wrote, "Don't accept any money. That's our Monday workout." And they quickly did, as Coach Brian DeLallo said. He tells me first thing this morning, his players were texting photos of each other clearing driveways, one after another.
It's great to see the kids buy in and get out there, and they'll shovel all morning, and then hopefully they'll go sled riding in the afternoon and get to be kids.
We'd love to do it for everybody that we can.
Del Duca, a guard and tackle on the team, says this is their chance to thank the community for their support, something he and Pfeiffer, a wide receiver and safety, did together. And they say they realized just how much this workout change was helping everyone when they knocked on this homeowner's door.
She was excited. She asked how much it was. We said it was free of cost. She was all excited and thankful for it. It was just nice to see that.
And that homeowner told the players she will pay it back by donating to the school's football program, adding to their lesson.
It's about community. We talk about it in our program all the time. So this is another chance we have to go out and interact with our community in a positive way and show them that they're important to us.
The players and their coach tell me this is a workout they actually enjoy. And while they know many other programs are doing the same thing, they're hoping those who aren't will now. In Bethel Park, Marcy Cipriani.
So again, I thought that was pretty cool because I'm a big purveyor, like I said, of coaching. I love to coach. And at the same time, I said the big thing about that is the whole idea of basically teaching, like you're grounding them and stuff. Like, don't get me wrong, there are plenty of there are plenty of other football programs that do the same thing or something similar to that in different parts of the country. But the fact that the coach is trying to get them out there and trying to teach them, you can teach you can teach about life through sports. But I just love the fact that this coach is like, this is what we're going to do. Getting that community service, getting them grounded, that's just a great thing, and I will never knock it. But the last story I got, guys, I know usually I have two good feel-good stories, but apparently the other video that I wanted to use to show the first the first African American in the NHL, his jersey, Willie Gee, is actually being retired. We're seeing being retired by Pittsburgh, but unfortunately, NBC decided to kill that video. So thanks, NBC. But I did want to talk about this one because I have to give it to this person. If you find a job that you're passionate about and you're having fun with it, you never work a day in your life. So they tell me. However, this individual, at first I thought he was from the Players Ball, but he actually has a method to his madness.
Welcome back. Most school districts will tell you, and we've covered it extensively here on News 4, that bus drivers right now are really hard to find. Well, tonight Steve Harris is going to introduce us to a Melville bus driver with a unique sense of style.
Every morning at the Melville School District bus lot, Kevin Hughes boards bus 229, dressed for success.
Morning, everybody.
Kevin was once where these kids are now, literally. You see, he graduated from Melville.
I was a troublemaker on the bus.
Well, that was then. Nowadays, he's a smile maker, driving in Dapper Duds.
These are trying times, and just putting a little fun in the workplace. If I made you laugh, I've done my job.
His work wardrobe does just that. Kevin's been at this for 5 years.
It's a very rewarding job.
A job that recently rewarded Kevin.
All right, kindergartners.
He was named Transportation Department's Employee of the Year.
He makes it a lot of fun, especially around the holidays. He also has a bunny suit for Easter and then Santa and stuff like that. But he does make it fun for students on the bus.
They love it. Yeah. It all depends on the outfit. Sometimes they don't understand them, but a lot of times they do.
Take, for instance, today's getup.
A leprechaun, a Mad Hatter, and what was the other one, Hunter?
Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson. Yeah, Michael Jackson.
But no matter how the kids interpret it, Kevin's costumes put a smile on their faces. Someone once said, people rarely succeed unless they have fun in what they're doing.
All right, kids, have a good day, all right?
If that's the case, you could call Kevin Hughes a success story.
I'll see you this afternoon.
I'm going to be honest with you. I was like, the first time I saw that, I was like, this man is a pimp. Now, again, I like the fact that he has a simple message that he's just trying to spread laughter and things of that nature throughout the world and throughout the world, especially on his bus ride. And I can't knock him for that. I thought that was pretty cool. But again, that's going to do it for this podcast, guys. I do thank you all for watching, for liking, for letting people know that we're live. I certainly appreciate that. I love doing this kind of stuff and kind of been doing it now for 3 years. 4 years, somewhere along the line. I know it's more than 2. But anyway, before I do get out of here, I do want to do some shameless plugging. I do want to first talk about my buddy Big BZA Dot, who will be starting this podcast up back very soon. You can definitely find him, either on Westfield on Facebook, Big BZA Dot on all socials, where he usually has Smoking Trailer Sundays every Sunday from 6:30 to 9 p.m., in which he does reviews of movies, of video games, of television shows that he finds interesting and therefore wants to share them with you. He also has the RAF podcast, like America's Funniest Home Videos, done by World Star, only for the grown and intended. Please bring no kids. Every Tuesday from 6:30 to 9 p.m. as well. Definitely check him out, Avon Westwood on Facebook and Big BZA on all socials. Also, shout out to RNG Present Geek Salad for allowing me to share my podcast on their page. Guys, I certainly appreciate that. Who are RNG Present Geek Salad? Well, they're 2 guys that I met last year. Very intelligent, very funny guys. Who speak on everything pop culture and things outside of it with an intelligent but unfiltered approach. Very fun to be around, especially Ari. Me and him do kind of kid around about Zack Snyder, but again, very intelligent guy, and I like talking to Guy as well. Also, very anime, like a man after my own heart. So we definitely have a lot of things we talk about. Hopefully, I will have them on the Get Bit podcast again very soon. But definitely looking forward to it. But in the meantime, check them out on Facebook as well as YouTube. As you see the YouTube page right there, Ari and Geek Present Geek Salad, which is the same on Facebook. So thank you guys. Just wanted to let you know and support you guys because we are all basically just trying to share our podcast and get up in the world. So, of course, with me, guys, of course, you see my IG handle, BlackFox447, which you can follow me there. I usually post movie reviews, video game reviews, things I find interesting, and some gym stuff because, I do a couple push-ups. Also, at the same time, I do try to motivate and encourage people because that's what we all need in this day and age right now is a little bit of motivation and encouragement. So I try to do that thing as well. Also, the streaming banner at the bottom, if you copy and paste that into your browser, will take you to my link tree. That's the YouTube and Facebook groups for all of my videos and podcasts from all of my groups. How the Frack We Got Here, Get Bit, and of course the Off Limits podcast. Definitely like and share and subscribe. I would certainly more than appreciate that to let me know if I'm doing all right in life. But aside from that, guys, like I said before, vaccination is key. Masks are key. We are still in the middle of a Decepticon aggressive strain. I do mean Omicron. So again, we have to do better. We have to be better. For those that are vaccinated, I highly, highly, highly encourage you to get vaccinated at this point. And always wear a mask right now. It is really chancing it at this moment to go around anywhere without wearing a mask. It is chancing it. I don't want anybody to get COVID. I don't want anybody to be sick. I want the hospitals to be emptied out of COVID beds. I want nurses and doctors to be able to take breathers again because they are stressed out. At the same time, I want to make sure that the path is clear for those that need life-saving treatment, to need life-saving treatment and assistance. I'm talking about those on kidney dialysis, those that are waiting transplants, those that are waiting transfusions, that are being held up, being in hospitals because a COVID bed is taken. Please, let's do the necessary things to protect ourselves. And by protecting ourselves, we protect each other. And hopefully we'll start to turn a page on this because I know we're not going to get back to the normal we once knew, but we need to get back to some sense of normalcy. And we can only do that if we trust the science and the doctors and stop believing the guy who's in his mother's basement that sit there and says that they're trying to control us through vaccines because of Bill Gates. I just let that go. That also being said, guys, last thing I'll say about How the Frack We Got Here, it's all about staying informed. We are not trying to change minds or persuade opinions. We are simply doing what the news stations of old try to do. I'll give you all the information, allow you to make up your own mind for yourself. We do a lot better as a society once we're informed. We're progressive. We move forward. We try to right the wrongs of our past by making decisions now that we should have done back then, like electing our first Madam Vice President who is Black. Even though Kamala Harris still has a hard time, but still happy we're able to do it. Because the thing about it is, if we don't learn from history, we are doomed to repeat it. That has been said many times. And if we keep repeating the same things, like electing a president that had no business being a president, or electing Republicans that have nothing to provide to us except to business and corporations, we're wondering why we're stressed out. We're wondering why we're angry, and yet we still never wonder how the frack we got here. Just saying. That being said, guys, thank you all for watching. And if you're watching this on the podcast, please go ahead and comment if it's live. I still want to know what you guys thought about all the stories and stories that we covered. Aside from that, guys, please take care of yourselves and each other, and we will get through this.